Alright, cool. So if you clicked on this video, you are probably a wholesaler or a realtor of some sort looking to convert more homeowners into listings or appointments or contracts, whatever it is you're trying to do. And this is going to be the 4 different types of sellers or homeowners that you're gonna actually come across, and we're not gonna waste too much time with this. We're gonna jump right into the 4 different types. But I wanna say right in the beginning here is that if you treat every single seller that you're gonna be dealing with the exact same in all these situations, then you're definitely gonna be losing deals, and that's actually the reason why I'm making this video in the first place, is because you have to know who you're dealing with, because the number one thing to getting anything done in real estate or anything in sales related in general is trust. And you need to be able to meet people where they are at. And if you just try to apply the same exact kind of tactics to each different type of seller that you're gonna be dealing with, you're absolutely gonna be kind of like throwing some people off, or at least not getting the best conversions you possibly can get. And it's just something to always be thinking about, like, what type of person am I actually dealing with on this call? And what kind of things can I do to ensure that I'm gonna be the most successful in converting this call into whatever your desired next step is, okay? So the first type of homeowner that you're gonna be dealing with is going to be the emotional type, all right? So the emotional type of seller is somebody they're just totally up in their feelings, you know? They wanna feel like they're being heard. They're really, like I was just talking about that emotional connection. This trust thing is gonna be huge for them. And a lot of times, salespeople like to talk, or anybody who's very, very talkative and doesn't really focus on the rapport as much. I mean, rapport is always important, but rapport with an emotional based seller is something that they're going to make a decision based solely off of. You know, they might even go with your offer if you're actually you know, have a lower price, if they feel like they trust you more. Where there's some people where that's not gonna matter as much. But the emotional type of person, so that just shows how big of an impact this can all have on this process, is the one thing that you have to really, really focus on is the rapport, and make sure that when you're dealing with them, they can feel like they can say or think to themselves, I feel like I'm understood. This person is taking the time to understand me, and I trust them, and because now that they understand my situation, I've been able to put out and air out all of my concerns, everything like that. They've been patient with me. I really feel comfortable about moving forward. And the one last point on the emotional type sellers is that they do not like ambiguity whatsoever. And ambiguity is just like uncertainty in the way things are going to happen in the future. So one thing that's really, really important to focus on with the emotional type of seller is outlining exactly what the process is going to be like for them moving forward with everything. So you have to actually map out for them what's going to happen and when, and so that way they can just feel better and feel more confident about the process. And like I said, if you can do all this stuff, this seller might be somebody to actually go with your offer, even if it is lower than your competition, all because you know how to deal with this type of seller. Okay, now the next is pretty much the opposite of an emotional type seller. It's gonna be your more aggressive type of seller, and this person is like literally the exact opposite. For them, it's like they don't like to BS. They want to get straight to the point. Rapport is not as important with them. Really, they're gonna treat this more like a, you know, like a man-to-man or like a counterparty transaction where, you know, where you guys are gonna get on the phone. You're gonna go back and forth, and you know, and that's definitely a different type of person than the emotional, because they're not looking to get on the phone and tell you everything about what they're doing. They're just gonna want to get right and straight to the meat and potatoes of the conversation. So, for example, if you're asking, oh, are you interested in getting a number on your property or something like that, you might call and say, okay, well, what's the number? Like, what's the number? What's the number? I need to know the number. Where are you at? You contacted me, all that kind of thing, and it's really easy for you to get thrown off your game if somebody comes in hot in the conversation like that and is like, hey, this is, you know, like, I don't have time to waste. That's the type of stuff, like, I don't have all day. I don't have time to waste. What's your number? Get to the point. If you're on the phone, you know, they don't want to hear a lot of BS. So the number one thing to remember with these type of people is anybody who's actually like an expert or professional in what they do, which is the way you need to come off if you're going to do deal or you're going to do a business in this in this industry whatsoever, is you have to come off as an industry professional and expert. And the one thing that all experts share is that they do not get knocked off their game. If there's a doctor or any type of professional like that, they have steps that they go through before diagnosing somebody, or maybe attorney or something like that, before making a decision on what to do in some kind of like case like that. So then just because somebody is being aggressive with them doesn't mean that they're gonna change the way that they actually handle things. So that's something to keep in mind for the aggressive type people, is definitely don't let them knock you off your game, because they're gonna respond well to that same type of energy back. So in that case, somebody's like, oh hey, get you an offer, be like, hey look, totally want to get you an offer. I want to let you know though that our offer is based off the current condition of the property, for example, in this case. And we do have to ask some questions, and so I can actually get you the best number on your property. I don't want to insult you, and is that fair? And kind of put it to them that way, where it's obviously a stupid thing to say no to, where it is obviously fair that you're going to try to get them the best number. So just come up with something like that for them. But the number one thing is to recognize that you cannot get knocked off of your process, because that's the one thing where if they start to control that conversation, it is just going to kind of like, you're not going to get through the process that you need to do your job, and it's just not going to end well. So that's the aggressive type. The next type is going to be like a really laid back person, a really like easygoing person, where they might already be open to taking an offer that's below market value or something like that. They're just super duper easygoing, and for them, they're basically going to be the type of person to be like, yep, I'm looking to sell the property. Like, I know this is the range that I want to be in, or I need to be in, if I want to get it sold, as is, and this type of, in the condition that my house is currently in. I know I got to be here. The thing is, when this is like a lay down basically type sale, because they already know that with the price range that they need to be in order to make something happen here. They might have already done a little bit of research, but the thing you have to make sure you get with this person is, just because they're easygoing and they're open to answering all your questions and they know the way it works and everything like that, you want to make sure that you absolutely get clear next steps with that person, and make sure that you do build some urgency in that situation, and make sure that they know that, like, hey, if we get through this, if we get through this process, are you able to get started today on moving forward with this? So if you guys can agree to a number on the phone, just make sure that there is a clear next step to move the process forward, because this is the type of person who is going to potentially shop this all around, and you just want to get a deal done and get it moved forward. So don't also let that knock you off your game in the opposite way of the aggressive person, where it's like, okay, cool, like that's like, you don't want to think to yourself, okay, well, this is going to be an easy one, like I can already tell that like they really want to sell and all that stuff. Don't let that happen. Stick to your process and make sure that you can get a commitment and say, hey, if we can agree to a price, can we get the process moving today on this? Okay, so that is going to be your easygoing type seller. And the last type of person that you're going to be dealing with or encountering in different types of sellers, or at least this is like a major category, is going to be an analytical type. Okay, and this person is going to be your numbers type of person, where they're kind of not as big on like at least like rapport, building a relationship with you. They're going to be very, very focused on the numbers, and they're also going to want to verify everything about the process is legit and checks out. So they might want to verify you. They might want to say, oh, what company do you work for? What other houses have you bought in the area? And all that kind of thing. So they might want to say, oh, okay, and I want to use my attorney, or I want to have my attorney look over your PSA. It's that type of person. They're not going to be as easygoing, and they're also just not going to be aggressive about it. It's just what they value. They will be willing to kind of go through the entire process, but they're gonna wanna make sure everything checks out. And basically the best thing that you can do with that is always, the number one rule in sales or influence in general, is to always start off by agreeing and say, look, I totally understand. I would do the exact same thing if I was in your shoes. You know, absolutely have your attorney look at our purchase agreement, absolutely verify our company, you know, here's the website. And then same thing with the green one though, like basically make sure you're saying, okay, and then like as everything checks out, which of course it will, you know, we are legit, maybe you can give them an address or two of some properties you have under contract or had sold or purchased in that neighborhood, then you could share some of that with him and just provide some of that substance so that they can feel a little bit more confident moving forward with you, okay? And so those, and just to recap, so those are the 4 different types of sellers that you're gonna kind of come across. You're gonna come across the emotional people. These are people you really, really wanna focus on building and establishing rapport with. The second type of people is the aggressive type, and these type of people are going to be all about no BS. Rapport is not going to be as important, and the number one thing is to make sure you meet them with that same amount of energy, and you're a professional, and professionals do not get knocked off of their game. So when you do come across this type of person, just make sure that you're matching the energy and you're not losing control of the conversation. Okay, and then your easygoing type, don't let that one slip away. That is a pretty nice type of person to deal with, and so don't let that opportunity pass by basically letting off on what your process usually is. You want to make sure that you're getting a commitment to, if the price works, we can get started. Okay, and then the last one is just your analytical. That's where, don't get frustrated with that person. They're gonna wanna be very, very thorough about making sure everything checks out with everything. Do not get frustrated whatsoever. Just make sure that you're agreeing with them and taking the time and having the patience to allow their analytical way of thinking to play out. And then to make sure that you're also, like the easygoing person, you're getting a commitment to move forward and always kind of focusing on that, but not pushing it as much. Okay, so those are the different types of homeowners that you're gonna be dealing with, and appreciate you watching this video.